Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We have the pleasure of sitting down with tight end Mark Andrews, and we got the big guests. We got the big guest coming on. 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. You seem like you're in a zone. Kind of Arizona. It just hit me. That just came to me.
Yeah.
How do you feel right now?
I feel good. First off, thank you for having me on the lounge.
Of course.
I've seen, I saw Rose and a couple of the other guys in the past, and you guys always do an incredible job. So it's good to be on here.
Loyal listener. Gosh, you're buttering us up. This is supposed to go the other way around.
No, I really do appreciate it. But I feel good, man. It's, I think, these last couple games and the last 3 games, I think just as a team, we've kind of, flipped the script and are starting to become who we want to be. And that's a resilient, tough, efficient football team that's able to win games no matter what.
Yeah. Did it mean anything more to you going to Arizona? Like, we all made a big deal of it and we were just chatting walking up here, but like, was it any more significant playing back home?
For me, the part I take pride in is being in front of my family and having all my family and friends there. I think that was really cool. It's probably the first time that's happened to me. And I have a lot of respect for my roots and playing, high school ball in Arizona. That's where it all started when I was in high school. So first time coming back and doing that. So it was just a pleasure to be out there and play. And be in front of my family and get that win. But at the same time, Baltimore's home too.
So I got to get to the bottom of this. So in Marlon Humphrey's IG Live after the game, which I'm sure you guys just love. Right?
Yeah, no one likes it.
So you looked good in the cowboy hat, though. I will give you props for that. So when he was doing his little interview with you during that, he was like, Arizona Cardinals didn't want to draft you. They said you were too slow, too soft. Did he just completely make that up, or was there any truth to that?
I don't know what goes through that kid's head. Maybe he knows something I don't know, but yeah, if
he doesn't. Spoiler alert.
I'm sure if they really wanted me, they would have gone and get me. But everything happens for a reason. And Marlon's. If you would have saw how he was talking to Coach Harbaugh, he was hitting him like every 5 seconds.
I know. So, he's crazy.
Yeah, he is crazy, man. But that's something I think he could be really good at here in the future if he just takes it a little more serious.
Is it kind of wild for you? They showed on the broadcast like some old high school photos. Obviously you didn't see that, but this tall lanky kid playing wide receiver back in high school, and now like look at you're one of the best tight ends in the NFL, right? Like, is there any moment when you're back home kind of where you reflect upon, gosh, it's been an incredible journey?
It has been an incredible journey, and it didn't just start with high school football. It started since a young age of playing sports and playing soccer and with my family, all the people that have helped me get to where I am today. Yeah. And I'm extremely thankful for that. And, I try to let them know, just how thankful I am to come from an incredible support staff and have people behind me that, fully support me and have my back. It's a blessing.
So when you scored the touchdown, were you able to find him in the crowd? Did you give him the point?
No, I didn't. Right before the game started, I really didn't see him too much. There's a couple of different things we were doing out there, and but I saw them right before the game started, and I saw them all standing up and gave them a little salute, and my dad saluted back, and saw my mom and my brothers and my sister. So yeah, that was good motivation for me.
That's very cool.
So on the touchdown you scored, I want to get your perspective on that play, because in looking at it, it looked like that was kind of the street ball thing that you and Lamar have. It looked like you kind of broke off your route and pointed over, and he delivered the ball on the money. Like, take me through that route and what was going through your mind as that play unfolded.
Yeah, just running across the field, and the defense kind of tried to cheat a little bit, and they started running way before I got to my spot, and that's when you see Lamar kind of thinking back shoulder, and you could kind of see me pointing back shoulder, and yeah. So that's something that just a lot of hours, a lot of ball, and just knowing how he plays and how he sees the game, which is incredible. And I think all of the guys are able to do that in the field, and that's why we're so dangerous. But he made an incredible play. Him sticking his leg up, getting stepped on, and being able to flick the ball 25 yards, and then be able to get it there without the guys from the backside coming in and hitting the ball out was so impressive. just to see that back was really cool.
Yeah, like I didn't realize how impressive the throw was until I saw the replay. Like it was that back angle where he's getting stepped on and he just throws it like a dart.
Yeah.
Like, did you realize at the time how ridiculous the throw was?
No, I didn't. Well, at the time I was like, throw it earlier, but he's just so special in everything that he does. And he's the epitome of what we're all trying to be and what a Raven is, because that guy's special.
It looks like you're also really good at seeing where the throwing lane is. Like he had a blocker right in front of him, and it feels like that's part of your chemistry. Am I right? That like you're seeing, oh, his vision is blocked here. I need to get into a window.
Well, I think the hardest part is being on his side, and some of his arm angles and how he figures out how to get the ball out.
Yeah,
that's a tough thing to do, and I don't really understand how he does it, how he sees it. And, it could be over top, could be a side. For me, it's just finding open lanes and trying to be as friendly as I can within the pocket of what he has to make his arm angles easier.
Gotcha.
But he does a great job of that.
So I'm curious about the kind of street ball, to what Garrett said, and how much freedom you have to kind of freelance in this offense. Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce have talked about that, and Kelce seems like he can run whatever the heck route he wants to run on any given play. I know with Todd's offense, it's obviously different from Greg's. How much of leeway do you have, and how key do you feel like that's been in kind of recent games when it feels like you've done a lot of that and it's really worked out well?
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for everything, and I think every OC I've been around is you want to be as structured as possible, but you also want to be able to let your playmakers be playmakers, and that's something that I've been able to flourish in and do is being able to somewhat freelance on routes, but at the same time you got to be able to stay within the play, and I'm slowly but surely, and I think as the season goes I'm going to get better and better at knowing the time and place to do it, and how to do it, and within this offense, making it our own and making it my own.
It's interesting. I'm curious what the process was like for you learning this offense, because I go back to this offseason and training camp, and you were kind of open about like, it's going to be a new system. I got to find my role in it. And I was kind of like, is he just slow playing this thing? Like, yeah, I think the role is going to be pretty darn big, like in seeing what the last few years have been like. Yeah. But like, what has that process been like for you and for finding your niche and how it all works together?
Well, it's been something new. It kind of took me back to my, rookie year, my second year type of deal where you're just absorbing everything. You're trying to understand, all the details of each play and how things are called, how things are operated. And it takes a while, it takes a while to really come into your own and be yourself. So, I think it's been kind of refreshing, and being in the same offense for 5 years, I really didn't have much new things, coming in, and that's not a knock or anything, but, I have a whole new offense that I'm learning, trying to make my own, and we're all trying to be, cohesive unit and working to the same goal. So that's been the fun part. And, I think even to this day, we're still growing, but we're finding ourselves.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk about Greg's offense was such a tight end friendly offense, but it seems like you obviously are doing quite well in Todd's offense. How is his different from Greg's in how it applies to tight ends?
That's a great question, but it's also a tough question. I think they both do a great job of using the tight ends and scheming them up, and especially in the run game. I think Coach Monk and Coach Giro have similar philosophies in that way, that we have a special quarterback, we have a special line, we have special running backs, and we have special tight ends. So that run game, we got to be able to get going. And you look at all our guys in the tight end room. Pat. Charlie, Zay, those guys are having big years. They're playing their butts off. They're attacking. They're doing everything they're asked to do. So when you have guys like that and you have a good line, there's going to be holes to run the ball.
Now, I know that we talk about this run you've been on and the stats and everything, but you always go back to the Super Bowl. That's really the only thing that you're chasing is a championship. Do you feel, has it been every year that you feel that fire kind of burning more and more and more as you get, more into your career? Or how do you describe that feeling? It's something that's incredibly important to me. And,
I'm at the point where I don't like to put too much, stock or say too much about it, just because, actions speak louder than words, and what's a bigger action than going out and doing it? Having a year where you just put your head down, you work, and good things come when that happens. So I think everybody on the team has that mindset. I'm extremely excited about where we're going, and if we can just stay focused, if we can just be ourselves, and we have all the tools. This is a dangerous team, from defense to special teams to offense. There's not many teams that have this type of talent and this type of guys that just want to fight. So I'm blessed to be able to be a part of this organization, and I want to win one bad.
Yeah, I mean, someone else who does is Lamar. He's made that clear literally since the time he was drafted. And you guys have always had a special connection. I've always kind of admired, both on and off the field, the connection, the relationship that you guys have. What do you think? Because I think he's playing better right now than he did in 2019 when he was a unanimous MVP. I mean, he is just playing so well. It seems like his command of the offense has gone to a new level. Like, he's making throws like we talked about, just these like wow type throws this year. How well do you think he's playing?
Well, I think you look at the difference between 2019 to now is just his maturity of the game. His understanding of the game. His pocket, just being a full quarterback, and that's saying he was an MVP.
Right. Yeah, he's pretty darn good then too, right?
Just incredibly good then, but somewhat raw and just playing football, and now it's everything. He's doing everything the right way, and he's commanding the guys. He's just the best, man. He's one of one. There's no one like him.
When you're in a huddle and you know that you've got him at your side, like, how does that affect the entire offense? Like, does it have a feeling of like we're always in a game when we got Lamar? Like, he can always come up with a magic play at any moment. Like, how does that impact the entire offensive group?
Well, I think belief is a huge thing in anything you do, and when you have the best of the best like Lamar, everybody's belief is sky high. We don't think that anybody has the edge on us. So if you come in a game like that, you're confident, and you believe in yourselves, and you believe in Lamar. It's a good thing.
Now, I said we weren't going to talk about numbers, but let's talk about numbers. So you're one touchdown away from tying Todd Heap's franchise record for touchdown receptions. What does that mean to you, that record?
It's cool. I think I'm close to, the touchdowns, and then yards is, a little bit ways away. It's close though ish.
On the horizon though.
On the horizon. Yeah. I'm coming. But, I'm thankful to, it's not many people that are able to play for one organization for this amount of time. And, I'm just trying to make the most of it. I'm trying to help this team win, like we've talked about earlier. And, there's a lot of greats that have played here, like Todd, like Derek Mason. Those guys have, had, hell of a careers, and to be able to achieve that type of milestone would be very cool. And those aren't the things that I really want, with football, but they're very cool. So I'm thankful.
Have you ever connected with Todd? Because I know he's an Arizona guy too.
Yeah, I've definitely had I've had a few, conversations with him, back and forth, and just love the guy that he is, and always respect what he has to say. He's been through it, and he always gives good advice. Right.
Now, something that stands out to me about you, Mark, is you're locked in all the time. Like, I always sometimes say that, especially on game days, like, there's certain guys that I don't want to I don't want to get in your path.
If things don't go well, you don't want to really. Mark's one of those guys where I hold out my recorder like this and I don't open my mouth.
But even on game day, like, there's certain guys who I just like, you're locked in. Like, I always say Marshall Yonda was that way. Like, I didn't want to be in Marshall's path when he was walking out to the field. I did not want to be. And you're not to the Marshall level, but you're close in that regard. Okay. And so, like, but you are locked in at all times. How does that, like, why is that the way that you operate?
I don't know. I think, like you said, like the way that I operate, there's guys that, are different in how they approach football and what they think. For me, this is a serious game. This means a lot to me. Being here, playing with these guys, playing for this organization in this city. So I wear that and take pride in that. And I know how being able to represent, the Ravens and the name on my back, and be able to have my brother's back, I take that very seriously. And not everybody does it that way. Some people are a little bit more loose, but I'm competitive. I'm fiery. I want to win at all costs. And so, when it becomes game day, really all game week, this time of year, you got to be focused, and those are the guys that I think that are the best, are the focused ones.
I was gonna say it's not just game day. It's I feel like it's all season long. Like, do you kind of flip a switch when it's like, all right, we're in season mode now, let's go. You're not gonna see me smile anymore. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm definitely a little bit more low key. I'm always somewhat stoic, even the off season. But this is what I love to do. It's my life, and I'm trying to do something that's remembered for years, and without focus and dedication, you can't do that.
Yeah. I'm curious, like some guys have talked about just like the whole flipping the switch thing. And like, I always remember Steve Smith talking about like, I would have to go home and be dad, or be a husband or whatever, and then kind of change. And I would have to turn that off and like talk about guys who played with incredible emotion, on the field. What do you do to like turn it off when you get home? Like, what does post game look like to you?
Yeah, hopefully, I leave everything out in the field, so there's nothing that I'm, coming back with. But I try to just rewind, just kind of get some downtime in and relax, and, maybe call a fam, or, sometimes we'll go back and play some video games with some of the O-linemen or something like that.
Okay, that's cool.
So other guys that are going through the same things, that have been through the same kind of war that you've been through, and talk through it, and that's about it.
What video game? What's your game of choice?
Well, the guys have been on Rocket League lately, and I'm not too good at that one, but I'm more of a shooter game like Call of Duty or Apex.
Okay, nice. And we saw last week, the connection that you make with kids, right, is pretty special, and you made a special one. Can you talk about that and what that does, even though you're locked in to season mode? Does that kind of break through and really touch you?
100%. That's something that's since an early age. That's it's been important to me to give back to the diabetes community.
Yeah.
I've always had somewhat of a platform since high school. Being having a lot of scholarship offers and getting these news people coming up to me. So that's been important, and I've tried to take that to each level, and to be able to have the NFL platform and the Ravens platform in the way that they allow me to just be myself and show my story, and try to help other families, other people that are going through things. And then you look at a guy like Isaac that was here the other week, the Make-A-Wish. Yep. Just such a happy kid that's been through a lot, and he's doing great. He's getting strong, and just things like that really touch you, because I talk about all the time, life's not fair, but if you can give back and you can give somebody hope and try to shed just a little bit of a light and happiness, that makes the world go around.
That's awesome. Well, that's really inspirational. And before we let you go, I will let you know that Garrett was talking about this upcoming game against the Seahawks, and he said, maybe Mark can tie the record. And I said, what? He's going to break Todd's record this weekend. He's breaking the record. So let's get it done.
Sorry for selling short. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, man. Our big thanks to Mark Andrews for stopping by the SeatGeek studio. Really enjoyed the conversation with Mark. I mean, this guy's one of the best in the business, and just enjoyed kind of learning about his insight and his process. Also, we want to give a shout out to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens. They've got a limited time offer running right now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code FLOCK. If you're a new customer, you can get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Again, the promo code is FLOCK, and that's only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You need to be over 21 and physically present in Maryland to play. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. So any other takeaways for you after talking with Mark?
No, I mean, we did see him, did smile some, got some laughs out of him.
I mean, he's
a friendly dude. I think that he's just like, to our point, he's just very locked in. I mean, when he's in season mode, like he's serious about his business. And I thought it was cool to hear his insight on that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Cause I've wondered, like, I've honestly wondered, like, does it take a toll on you? Like, you just, like, he's serious all the time. And you're just like, man, it's like, difficult to imagine like being that locked in at all times. Yeah. And I thought it was his insight on that. I thought was good perspective. I mean, he cares. And I think that's like, I've always kind of felt like Mark is a guy who's sort of a coach's dream in a lot of ways. Like this is a guy who it means a lot to him.
For sure.
And he's going to do all the right things on and off the field. He's going to give you everything he's got. And like, he's going to play hard, and he is a he's a tone setter in a lot of ways.
I mean, I think it's hard for him to even take practices off. You know, we saw
definitely
in training camp, he does not like sitting out at all. And that's part, I think the coaches have to be like, Mark, get your body right. Let your body really get healthy and feel strong and all that stuff. Like, it's okay, man. You know what you're doing. We got it. But, you know, as he was saying too, he was learning a new offense. So there was some of that. And I think he wanted to be on the field and set the tone and be a leader by example and all that stuff. But I also now think that he's healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And that hasn't always been the case, certainly down the second half of last season, even times earlier in this year.
Well, he missed the first game of the season with the quad.
Exactly. So now he's healthy. And I think that's part of the reason why we're really seeing him start to take off.
Yeah. I think he's going to continue to put up some big numbers in the second half of the season.
Yeah, for sure. So big game against the Seattle Seahawks.
Where he's going to break that record, right?
Where he's going to break that record, exactly. 5-2, the Seahawks are coming into M&T Bank Stadium. This is a big game.
Huge.
I mean, the Seahawks are coming off of a comeback win against the Browns, and they're just a good team, right? They clearly went out the trade deadline, got Leonard Williams, and they're saying, all right, we're making a play. Right, we're in it for this year, and this is a game I think for the Ravens. It's going to be kind of a gut check, you know, at home against a good team again.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
the Lions, kind of, you know, a good NFC team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is a challenging game. I think probably when the schedule comes out, you know, and you're doing the whole thing, you know, win loss, that whole game. I think a lot of Ravens fans probably like, all right, you know, Seattle, that's a win, and like. I still feel good about the Ravens' chances, but this is a very difficult game. I mean, the Seattle is, you know, they're competing for that. I think people kind of wrote them off in that NFC West conversation. It was just like, yeah, the 49ers are going to run away with that division. And here we are, you know, going into this game, and Seattle's obviously right there in the thick of that race.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a challenge. You know, they're an interesting team. Like you go, they've got some dynamic wide receivers, but like, they're middle of the road in overall rankings.
Right, yeah. They're 16th in offense, 16th in defense. That's as middle.
Smack dab.
That's in the middle.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of interesting, and you look at it and you're just like, oh, well, Kenneth Walker, you know, their running back is having a really good year. Well, they ranked 19th in rushing offense, right? And they're a team that likes to run the ball. So it is kind of tough to put your finger on it. You know, Geno Smith was a comeback player of the year last year. He's off to another strong start. They have the wide receivers like you're mentioning. You know, you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now the rookie first-round pick, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a storyline there.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, because they went with him, and obviously the Ravens, that started the wide receiver run.
Yep.
And the Ravens got Zay Flowers. No shade to JSN, but I'm happy that we got Zay.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think those were the guys like going into that draft. I think most people viewed Jackson Smith and Jigba as the number one receiver, that he was going to be the first guy off the board. And he was.
Yep.
But he went much later than I think people expected. And so all of a sudden I think, you know, a lot of the mock drafts, like no one really had the Ravens taking him because most people thought he would be gone, and then it started to look like maybe he's there. Obviously, he went before the run starts. The Ravens get Zay Flowers, so I feel good about that. But Jackson Smith and Jigba's come on recently.
Well, he scored the game-winning touchdown against the Browns.
Yeah, he's come on. He's had touchdowns the last two games. I don't think he had a touchdown prior to that, so he's heating up a little bit.
Yep.
And so that trio of wide receivers is going to be the best that the Ravens, The Bengals certainly, but I think that like this is up there.
Yeah, I think that this and the Bengals, yeah. I mean, that Bengals probably stronger.
Yeah.
But if you go number 3, if you're saying JSN versus Tyler Boyd, let's say.
Right.
You know, it's tough.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, it's a conversation for sure. So this might be the best this is definitely the best wide receiver trio that they've faced since the Bengals game in week 2. So I think it is a good matchup for the Ravens cornerbacks. This is kind of, you know, we've all been talking about Brandon Stevens has been playing really well. Marlon Humphrey's been playing really well. And then you've had this third kind of cornerback rotation. It's been Arthur Millette primarily in recent games. Rock Ya-Sin and Ronald Darby didn't have a defensive snap last week. That might change this week going against this wide receiver trio. So it's going to be a tough test for this Ravens defense, and one, as we all know, they're not going to run from it.
Well, I also think it's interesting because like DK Metcalf obviously is the big, you know, he's the big body wide receiver, and like that I would think would be I would just be curious how the Ravens handle that. Do they just play sides? That would be my expectation. I mean, Brandon Stevens is a big guy too, so it's not like you need to have Marlon who can pretty well match up against the big receiver. It's not like you need him to follow DK Metcalf. And also when you got a good trio, it's more likely that you just play your normal defense.
Yep.
But I think it is like that third cornerback spot, which is your favorite spot in football. You love talking about
I love talking about it.
Like, how do the Ravens handle that? Do they have it just be Arthur Millette? Do they put Ronald Darby out there? Do they slide Marlon into the slot at times? Like, how do they handle that rotation?
Do they use Kyle Hamilton on DK Metcalf if there's an opportunity to match up in that way?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because he's such a unique wide receiver, the matchups there are so interesting. And Lockett's such, on the other side, shifty, smaller guy, really crafty.
Veteran savvy,
Marlon Humphrey, I think, has said previously that he's one of the toughest covers in the league. That he has a lot of respect for Tyler Lockett. So they're a dangerous team, even though you look at it on paper and you're like, all right, they're 16th in total offense, they're 19th in the rushing, 15th in passing. Like, what is it exactly? But they're 11th in points. So whatever it is, they're getting the job done.
And they're 5-2.
And they're 5-2. Exactly. Well, when you look at their defense, Bobby Wagner's back there, one of the better inside linebackers in the game. Tariq Woolen, who I think was the defensive rookie of the year last year, among the league leaders in interceptions. He just got his first pick last week against Cleveland. So you hope he doesn't start heating up this year. They've got a good defense too, and the Ravens offense is coming off a game where they obviously kind of, it was uneven in Arizona. And I think they'll be looking to kind of have obviously a performance more similar to the Lions game.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll's defenses obviously are well documented. I mean, they've had a lot of good defenses there since he's been the head coach.
Yep.
And so I think that like strong defensive play is a core fundamental belief of that team.
Well, they're 8th against the run, 22nd against the pass. So is this more of a pass-heavy script, even though that's what the Ravens went into Arizona with and then said, all right, let's start running the ball more, and did so successfully with Gus Edwards. Is this, again, more pass-heavy? It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I always think it's interesting, like the old adage of the NFL's a copycat league. So the Arizona Cardinals have a little bit of success against the Ravens by clouding the picture in the defensive backfield by dropping a bunch of guys in coverage. But then the Ravens flipped it, then they started running the ball downhill and had a lot of success doing that. So do teams take a look at that first half approach and basically say, you know what, let's drop a bunch of guys into coverage and try to make life difficult that way? Or do they just do their own thing? And that was what the Arizona Cardinals did, and teams aren't going to replicate that. I don't know. That will be something to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this offense, they're eager to prove, I think, we're better than what we showed in Arizona. We're closer to what we were in Detroit, or against Detroit, I should say. And B, the Ravens didn't make a move at the trade deadline, right? They said, we like our guys, and they stayed pat. That I think is for guys, there's a lot of talk about running back. For Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, it is a sign of faith that, Keaton Mitchell even, possibility that he gets back, that they believe in those guys and that they can kind of carry the load.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that look, players look for motivation anywhere. And I think that when there's...
Well, Gus said he did, when he was asked about the trade deadline, he was like, I don't know anything about that. So,
yeah.
I don't know how much motivation Gus specifically is taking for that.
I also never know how much that's, you're just saying one thing, but you're aware of it. But, I think the guys will look for motivation anywhere. And if they're motivated by the talk of discussing trades and things like that, I think that can only help this team.
Yeah.
So I like this offense. I mean, it is I do think it's a bit funny. Like, I know the offense didn't look great last week, but they scored 4 touchdowns.
Well, over the past 3 weeks, the Ravens have averaged 31 points per game.
We're like, what's wrong with the offense again? And it's like 30, right. Gus Edwards like, wait, why are you saying the offense is a problem? I scored 3 touchdowns. What are you guys talking about over there?
31 points.
Yeah.
Now, 2 of those were set up by shorter fields, by interceptions, but that happens across the league. The Ravens aren't the only offense where you get the ball back at near midfield or beyond.
Right. And then 3 weeks ago, we were talking about basically the issues in the red zone, and you need to be able to punch it in, and then they punch it in.
Exactly.
So anyway, I think this offense actually is very much on the right track.
I agree. It's all about trajectory, right? And I certainly, and I think the results speak to this, that they're progressively getting better.
Yeah.
And that's what we all expected with Todd Monken's offense. It was going to take time. It wasn't going to be an overnight, sensation, right? Gangbusters week 1. It takes time, especially there's a lot of layers to his offense. And when you're empowering a quarterback, like we talked about with Lamar Jackson, and you're putting more on his plate and he's making more decisions and all that stuff, like that's new. It takes time for that to really kind of sink in. And I think Lamar, what we're seeing to your point earlier is the command and what Mark was saying, right? His command of this offense is really growing and you're seeing the full maturation. And as we go along this season, I think you're just going to see more and more dividends.
Yeah, I thought that I was interested to hear his perspective on that. Like I knew he's a huge fan of Lamar and they're great teammates. And so I knew he was going to give a nice answer about Lamar, but
he's always been a Lamar cheerleader, for sure.
But like just hearing him talk about like how Lamar's command, that's what I see, like command and poise. And it just seems like Lamar at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap, and then even as the play is unfolding, like he just seems to have a full mastery of everything that's happening in front of him. He's going through his reads, he's delivering the ball with accuracy. And I think that's why I think he's taken his game to another level this year, and it sounds like Mark sees it the same way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Garrett, this is the start of a big 3-game homestand at the bank. It's going to be really fun. It's kind of crazy how many games at the bank.
Well, it's 3 games in 12 days.
Yeah.
Which the Ravens have never had that. That's the most home games in that short of a stretch in franchise history.
Yep.
So get comfortable coming down to Russell Street and hanging out at M&T Bank Stadium. Get tickets if you haven't done so already. You can use our friends at SeatGeek.
Get your pup. There you go.
Use our friends at SeatGeek,
Well
okay?
done.
Or go to BaltimoreRavens.com/tickets. So we expect to see you there and be loud. There hasn't been a stretch. It was 2019. The Packers had that same stretch, 3 home games in 12 days. So it's going to be a busy time at M&T Bank Stadium. I can't wait. But yeah, the fans are going to be there. They're going to be loud.
Going to be very fun. Well, get ready for the big victory over the Seahawks. I almost said Seahawks win, but I keep getting big. It'll be big. All right, it'll be great. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with you next week.